Good evening, Shivguru. I am Indranil Ghosh.
Good,
Do
Namaskar.
you recognize me?
Yeah. I can recognize you. No problem. How can I forget?
No.
So how come you are here?
Sir, I thought that I should join. That is why I am here.
You are
Training always attracts me. You know that. Training always attracts me.
Okay. So I am live on YouTube as well right now. So we are live on YouTube. So I was just checking on my mobile. So
So how is things going on for you? Your training and other things.
yeah, Shiva Guru.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon and warm welcome. Thanks for introducing yourself on the chat box. Good afternoon, Indranil, and warm welcome. Pinky, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining in. Kajal Mitra, good evening. Gautam, good afternoon and warm welcome. Kumar, good afternoon. Praveen Kumar, good afternoon and welcome to the session. Yes, Saurav from Bangalore, personal capacity to introduce to NLP. Thank you very much, Saurav. Yeah, good afternoon, Uma. Kajal, good afternoon. Pinky, good afternoon. Advocate Fatima, good afternoon and warm welcome. Rupak, good afternoon. Thank you. Uma, good afternoon and warm welcome. Ashwin, good afternoon. So we have someone with Mind Mentor. If you could share your name, it will be great. Nitin, good afternoon and warm welcome. Saugata Bhattacharya, right? Good afternoon, Nirmal Kaur.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you and warm welcome to the session. So good afternoon once again to everyone and warm welcome to the session. Improve communication using NLP. So we are going to understand the communication process using NLP so that we can understand how we can use the concepts of NLP to understand, persuade people, influence them, impact them, and lead them if we are at the leadership role. So what we are going to do today is in next 2 hours almost, I'm going to share something about Apollo leadership. I'm not going to take too much of time, not more than 4-5 minutes, then we will get into this session. We will talk about what is communication, and from the perspective of NLP, we will understand what is communication and how it works and how we can make it impactful. Then we will see what is the power of imagination, and we will use a group technique which will help us understand how we can use NLP to create that imagination at the subconscious level. Then I'm going to share something about our upcoming sessions. That is, one is leadership certification course, and some information about the leadership development program. So this is what we are going to do in next 2 hours. Apollo Leadership Training and Consulting, we provide customized training interventions. So we have designed and delivered multiple sessions on leadership development where we cover 16 skills. These 16 skills have been identified by Harvard Business School as mandatory for managers and leaders across level and industry. So it works like one day every month, and then in between we have projects, exercise, and one-to-one coaching. Then the other programs like managerial development, team building, teamwork, managing change, time management, communication and presentation skills, listening skills, and so on. One-to-one coaching and counseling, NLP certification course, NLP life coach, and train the trainer program. So I'm going to share some details at the end. We started doing Zoom sessions from COVID, like most of us, and from COVID till today, we have delivered more than 150 sessions, almost in last 2 years. Related to NLP, we did programs like Power of Subconscious Mind, which we are having next week again. Then Law of Attraction, Law of Affirmation, understanding how they work, Success through Positive Mental Attitude, practicing mindfulness, and so on. Under self-development, we did programs like how to turn our dreams into reality, how to build that self-confidence, which is superpower to success, impactful communication, persuasive communication or improved communication, which we are attending right now, managing emotions using NLP, power of habits, and mindset thinking of successful people. Under leadership, we did 4 programs: personality types, communication, and leadership. Leadership maps, that is mindset, attitude, perspective and skill set, conflict management and leadership, and the right leadership. So some of the recordings of these programs are there on YouTube. You can check our channel. Also some unique programs like love languages, law of karma, and emotional wellness. So for small and medium scale organizations, medium-sized organization, we manage their entire training or learning process, right from training need identification up to training delivery, and helping them build internal training capabilities. So identifying people who are good in technical skills, train them how to deliver or transfer that knowledge to their colleagues internally so that they develop their technical competency. My name is Sanjay Goyal. This is about me. So I was associated with Franklin Covey, Dr. Stephen Covey's organization for more than 10 years, where I started my career in training. 7 Habits is the world's largest selling book across the globe, and the training program on 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is the world's largest selling program across the globe. Some of the companies which I have worked with are Flipkart, SBI, Jindal Steels, Kotak Bank, BPCL, and so on. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also join our Facebook group or LinkedIn group or WhatsApp group and stay updated about the upcoming programs. Share it with your friends and colleagues so that they also benefit. So this was about me and about Apollo Leadership. What we do under counseling, because this is a program where we are going to talk about improving communication, counseling and coaching, what we cover and how we do it, I will share at the end of the program. So here we are. We will understand about impactful communication, subconscious mind, questioning techniques, power of imagination, vague communication, universal modeling process, and leading NPC. So when we talk about communication, Freud said we can never remain silent. Even when we are not saying anything, our eyes speak. When we talk about communication model, this is a very common model, which I'm sure everybody knows. You can unmute and share what you understand with this communication model, which we are talking about, very common. You can use the chat box as well, or you can unmute and tell me. So one thing we have to remember that we are connected on Zoom through internet. So if there is any internet issue, I get logged out, wait for me, I will log in again. If you lose my voice at any point of time, you can tell me and I will repeat it for you. The option of unmuting is available to everyone. So at any point of time, you want to share something which is relevant to the program, something which will benefit the participants. If you have any questions, you are free to ask. So you are free to unmute anytime and share. And you can always use the chat box as well. Participants who are attending on YouTube, you can, if you have any questions or if you have anything to share, you can write in the chat box and the live chat box, and I will try to answer them as well or incorporate your chat in this session. So coming back to the model, communication model, very famous, very common. Anybody would like to go ahead and share?
Normally, this is how we react in the world. Somebody who is sending a signal, either it may be a voice signal or even a hand signal, or even, as you said, in eyes also speaks. So other person will receive, will try to understand or decode or whatever it is, and then again he will respond. The other person, the sender, will be receiving that response. This is how communication.
Thank you very much, Shiva Guru. Wonderfully explained. Anybody would like to add further to it?
See, between sending and receiving, there is something called reaction. So that reaction has to be there. Sender may send any signal, and we may interpret anything, but that is our reaction which makes the communication difficult. So it is the reaction which actually makes the communication complicated. Signal can come from any form, and decoding of signal or noise may get added into it, but our reaction depends upon how we respond to it.
Great, thank you very much. Any other inputs?
Communication is just an exchange of information,
Right,
whether it is verbal or non-verbal.
right. So communication is exchange of information, whether verbal, non-verbal. So very true. Thank you very much. What else?
Communication is not only exchange of information; it is exchange of thought, exchange of logical behavior, and also influencing a person. So it did not be always information. No information may be passed through a communication, but still you can communicate many things. So it is not information always. Information is a part of it. Need not be only information.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah. So great. Thank you very much. Anything else you would like to add?
See, I think the information consists of verbal as well as non-verbal. So, information is a broad category.
Right.
Of yeah.
Yeah. So agreed. So this is one of the communication what you call gap we will talk about. So
Yeah, okay.
information is a term which can be used broadly. It can include thoughts also. It can include reaction also. So doesn't matter. So you all are right. So thank you very much for sharing. I got your point. Thank you very much, Uni Krishnan, for that. Anything else you would like to share? Okay. Okay. So communication is an act of giving, receiving, and sharing information. In other words, talking, writing, listening, reading between sender and receiver. So thank you very much, everybody, for sharing. You all are right, and it was a wonderful sharing from everyone. So we understood that there is a sender. He is sending a message. So whatever his thought or whatever he wants to say, information, whatever, he is transferring that thought or information. He is encoding it into, it can be words, verbal, when you talk about non-verbal, it can be his or her body language, or it could be writing, or any other means, it could be chatting. So he or she is sending the information. Now receiver receives that information or the message, and he tries to decode the message from the information which he has got or which she has got. So information sent by sender and received by receiver. Now information is not the word. The information can be the thought, can be what their beliefs or anything they want to communicate or express. And the receiver will receive it. It can be in form of words or non-verbal, and he will try to decode what is said from that message. So this is what we say is communication. Now the question is, the most important question is, when a sender sends the information, so sender has a thought, he or she is sending the information. Receiver is receiving those words, and from those words he is trying to decode what is the thought the person is trying to communicate. The question is, the information sent by sender and received by receiver, are they going to be the same at any point of time? So the information sent, I'm
may
sorry,
not be same, 100% may not be same.
100% may not be the same. Now so thank you very much. Why it will not be the same, or it cannot be the same?
There is a famous experiment which is called tapper and listener. It clearly shows, you can repeat the same exercise if you want. It clearly shows that whatever thinking is there in the mind of the sender need not be same thinking the receiver may have. And that is why this experiment is, which was done by Harvard long ago, tappers and listeners. So it is not it cannot be 100%. It can be 100%, but it is difficult to do that.
So now the question is, why is that gap?
Say number one is,
No,
yeah. Yeah, Nitin is telling something.
Yeah,
you know,
Nitin.
sorry, there is a background disturbance, but then the gaps are mostly because of the filters, the mindset of the receiver, and possibly distractions or inadequate way of communication, which might have not gone correctly.
No, see, just 1 minute. All those things are right, whatever Nitin you have explained. But I will like to add on in that see, when a receiver receives a signal, when I receive a signal, now I have something, my mind is already programmed with some past things, and I will interpret it based on my experience. So when I interpret based on my experience, what I have experienced later, there can be a communication gap. So that is why the interpretation is very, very important. Interpretation should not be based on the past experiences. If it is past experiences, then it is an issue.
Okay. Okay. So we got your point.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I just want to add.
Yeah.
It depends upon the state of mind of the person at that point of time.
Right. Right. So thank you very much. All agreed. The question is, how do you deal with that? So I'm sending you some information, right? And based on your state of mind, based on your past experiences, based on your programming or thinking process, so you all are right. So based on that, you are going to interpret it, and probably most of the time it is not going to be what I am saying and what you are receiving can be different, and most of the time it will be different. So how do I deal with that?
See, communication is done through 5 channels, right? Yeah,
We understood that. My question is,
I am trying to tell that only. So now there are 5 channels like seeing, listening, hearing, etc. I mean, hearing, then feeling, etc. Emotions we can feel. So these channels, 5 channels, we are receiving information. Now what happens is, if we use only one channel, and there is every possibility there will be a communication gap. So all the five channels has to be
not necessarily, Indrali, not necessarily. Right now, you're
Hi,
listening to
Sanjay.
me, your
Hi,
voice.
Sanjay.
Yeah, hi, Sogata.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Saugat. In fact, I was just the chart that I can see in front of me. It is very, it's the basics of communication.
Yeah, basics. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very basic one.
Right.
The question, if I may, if I understood your question is, the way we can, the noise that is there in between, what it interprets is the distractions in the while in the message and the feedback. So
Right.
how I can reduce this communication gap is to constantly taking feedback from the person
Right.
about the understanding of the message.
Right.
Okay, whether
Right.
I am really understanding that is where the gap, what we call as communication gap, it minimizes.
Right.
That is what I could understand, because this noise is here, which is meant in this chart, is nothing but distractions in the
Right.
communication channel.
Right. So absolutely. So you are absolutely there. It is how to reduce that gap. It is simply by taking feedback from the receiver. So if you attend the program on 7 habits, seek first to understand and then to be understood. The habit 6, where Stephen Covey talks about a talking stick. So what the Red Indians used to do when they had the disputes. So different tribals, Red Indian tribals can have disputes. So how do they resolve those issues? So they use a talking stick. Now what they used to do? So the person who is holding the stick will talk, and the other person will listen quietly. So he will not say anything in between, right? And after the sender or the communicator has communicated, the head of the tribal has communicated, then he will pass on the talking stick to the listener or the receiver. Now the receiver or the listener will repeat exactly what has been said in his own words, what he understood from the communication. And then again, he will pass on the stick to the sender. Now, if there is a gap, he will clarify. Okay. And if it is good enough, then he will say, okay, now it will be chance for speaker to speak his point of view on that dispute. So this is how, by the constant feedback mechanism, you can kind of reduce the gap. Now the idea is here, not when I talk about communication, the more we understand the mind of the receiver, like Indranil said that about his past experiences, his thinking, if we are able to know more about that, it will become easy for us to communicate with the receiver. So the idea is to understand what is probably how the receiver is taking that information. So we will understand it from that perspective, from the mindset of the receiver, how to communicate effectively. So we understood this communication model, like you Saugata rightly said, it's a very, very basic one, right? And we understood what is communication gap. So communication gap is almost always going to be there. You can say that 99.99% of times there is going to be a communication gap, and you have to listen with all your 5 senses. That is understood. So you have to understand from you have to listen from using all your 5 senses. However, when you are communicating, receiver, you have no control over receiver. Receiver can receive information in any way. We cannot control his state of mind. So we can try to understand what is the state of mind of the receiver, and based on that, improve our understanding about the receiver or communicate effectively. Right. So we understood that feedback mechanism works very well while passing on the information accurately. Right. So when we talk about NLP, so NLP, when you say neuro linguistic programming, So it is about communication. So NLP is completely a communication process, understanding the communication effectively. And when we practice this, when we do a group technique, NLP group technique, we will know how communication works there. And important thing is that when we come to that point where we will practice it, I would want you to keep your cameras on, right? I would want to keep your cameras on, because unless I see you, I will not be able to kind of give you the right kind of suggestions to experience the power of NLP. So, person state of mind, how do we understand that using universal modeling process? Okay. So there is some external event happening. I'm sure that you are able to see my slides, right? So there is an external event happening. So any event happening, in this event, like Indranil said, we have 5 senses. So our 5 senses are going to receive a huge amount of information. When we receive this huge amount of information, our mind accepts it, right? But our mind doesn't have the capacity to process the entire information we have received. Okay. So, for example, you go to a client, if you are going to meet a client for the first time, or you are visiting a friend for the first time, you are going to his house. You enter his house. How much information you are going to get as soon as you enter the house? There will be huge amount of information. So, color of the walls, the kind of furniture, the kind of curtain, the AC, the brand of AC. There will be n number of things. What is your host wearing? His wife wearing? Probably his children wearing? What are they doing? How they are looking? The color of their eyes, the color of their hair, the way they carry themselves, the way they talk. So there is going to be a huge amount of information coming from the environment. However, our mind does not have the capacity to process the entire information. So what do? So our mind doesn't have capacity to kind of receive the entire information and process the information. So what does our mind do? So it's like you go to a buffet, right? And there are you go to the buffet and there are some 600 items kept to eat. What do? And you cannot eat all 600, 500 items which are kept. Then what do?
We will pick up whatever we feel is suitable for us.
So thank you very much. Beautifully said. So we will pick up whatever we feel is appropriate, which is necessary, which is required for us, or which is relevant for us, and rest we will ignore. So somebody used the word filter, right? So that is what will happen. The filtration of this information will happen. So most of the information will be kind of removed, will not be accepted. It will be deleted because it is not required, and we cannot process the entire information. And the information which we are going to receive, that we consider it as relevant, we can do 3 things to this. Either we will generalize the information, we will distort the information based on our present belief. So if I believe in something and I see the other person communicating something to me, I will, if it doesn't matches to my belief, I will distort it and I will match it to my belief, right? And the most important, most of the thing which is going to happen is I'm going to delete most of the information. So 3 things I'm going to do, my mind is going to do automatically. On this process, I have no control. It will automatically delete the information which is not required by us. Generalize the information which we have received so that I can store it easily. Our mind can store it or distort it based on my present beliefs or present understanding. Now, how does this information gets processed or filtered? So what is going to be deleted? What is going to be distorted? What is going to be generalized? It depends on meta programmings. Now, what are these meta programmings? There will be small programmings, which programs which will be running in our mind. These programs are going to these programs would be based on our values, our belief system, based on our past experiences, based on the decisions I have taken in the past and the experience I had with them, based on the memories. So there is a possibility that you have experienced something and you have shared it with me, and I have kept it as if it was my experience. So based on those memories also, I can delete I can process the information, filter the information. Right. Now, the information is very huge. To give you a comparison, approximately the research says that 2 billion bits of info is received by our mind, and out of that, only 150 bits of information is kind of accepted by our mind. Rest of it is filtered, and it is not stored together. It is stored in 5 to 8 chunks. So it is not stored together. It is stored in different 5 to 8 different chunks. Now, this information which is stored can have some internal representation in form of visuals, sounds, and feelings. Right. For example, if I tell you to think about a sweet which you like the most, so close your eyes and think about your favorite sweet. Now, you will have some imagination, some image of that sweet which you have, which is your favorite. So what is your favorite sweet? You can use the chat box and tell me.
Sir, Kaju Katli.
Kaju Katli. So as soon as you close your eyes, you can see, you can have an image of Kaju Katli in your mind. Plus, you will also have the taste. You will also have a feeling when you eat a Kaju Katli. What else? What are your favorite sweets? Rasgulla. I was expecting that. So Rasgulla. So every Malai sandwich, right? So everybody will have. So when I said your favorite sweet, right? So you picked up all those sweets which you like, right? So that is what the communication is about. Favorite sweet, you all gave different names. All these sweets which you like individually, you have some image, internal representation. Plus, it is not only about the image, it is about the feeling also. When we talk about fear, right? So horror movies. So we find it Tirupati laddus. Thank you. So we find them scary because it is not only about visual or feeling. It also has some sound. So there are certain sounds which are which are kind of connected with fear or scared or ghost or whatever. So those feelings. So we will have internal representation in form of visuals, sounds, and feelings. Of course, it will be also taste and smell, but most of us use our 3 senses more, right? Visuals are the highest, feelings, and then sound. So every situation, everything will have a internal representation stored in our memory. So whatever has happened with us since childhood till today, everything that has been stored in our mind will have some internal representation. So visual attached with feeling. So when I will ask you to think about a snake, you will have a snake, and then there could be a scary feeling attached to it. Right. So image with feeling, image with sound, and feelings. So this is our internal representation. And then it creates a state. So internal representation creates a state. So when you were thinking about sweets, your favorite sweet, So this visual, this sound, this feeling can create a state, and you may when you recollect the situation, the incidents when you had your favorite sweet, you were happy, so you can feel that state of happiness when you start thinking about that internal representation, right? Something happened with somebody 15 years ago, but when that person recalls that what has happened, when he recollects that situation, along with that situation, he can also experience the emotions, though it had happened 15 years before. So it depends on the kind of impact it has created on you. So internal representation will lead to state will lead to certain physiology. Now, when I'm in a state of fear, how do I look? So that will be my physiology, or how I will appear externally when I'm in a state of fear. And then I will behave in a certain manner. And because I behave in a certain manner, I will get certain results. So external event, huge amount of information. Our mind is not capable of processing the entire information. So we will filter the information, generalize, distort, and delete, store a fraction of that information which is considered to be important, relevant, necessary for us. It will have some internal representation. It can be in time, sound, mostly sound, visual, and feelings. This internal representation can create a state. A state is internal. It will have certain physiology. So from outside, we say mother knows everything. So if the child is sad from inside, even though he is not expressing it, her mother will know because of the physiology of her child, because she has been observing her child since he or she was born. So looking at her physiology, she is able to kind of even notice those minor details which your even the close friends or even your father may not be able to identify or kind of recognize those signals. So physiology, behavior. So if I see a snake, the internal representation of a snake is with fear. That will change my physiology. So my eyes may kind of become large and pop up. You can see the fear on my face. My body can get tensed. My muscles kind of ready to run. So all the potential energies are kind of going to get released into kinetic energy. As soon as I see the snake, I'm going to run and I'm going to get away from that situation. However, if there is somebody who is a snake lover or who is doing research on snakes, probably he sees a snake and in the same situation, his reaction will be different. So now the question is, in this universal modeling process we understood, if I need to change the results, what all can I change? What should I change? So my question, I will repeat once again. We understood the entire process. So huge amount of information filtered, some relevant information taken in, stored in our mind that creates a state. The state is appears in our physiology, leads to certain behavior and certain results. Now, if I need to change those results, what do I need to change?
How I look at things. So basically, is it internal representation?
So thank you very much. One can be internal representation. So thank you very much. Wonderful. So one possibility is we can change the internal representation. So it is like saying that if I see a snake and there is a fear associated with the snake at the subconscious level, I can replace with not so fearful feeling when I see a snake. So that one thing is possible. So thank you very much. What else?
Sanjay, what I think is what I delete or what I keep it in my mind, the filter process, okay, is something which will define my end result, which is the last in the cycle.
Right.
So what I retain in my mind, in my subconscious mind, what I delete or what I distort, that is important role to play in the final result.
So thank you very much. Wonderfully said. So you are absolutely right there. So one thing is that internal representation can be changed. The second one is the filters can be changed. Or in other words, the meta programming will be changed, can be changed. So what values, what beliefs we have, what past memories we have, what was the influence of my environment in the past, what decisions I have taken, and the impact of those decisions I have taken in the past. All that meta programmings can be changed. What else can be changed?
Sir Saurav here.
Yeah.
I
Hi.
think from the awareness perspective, so once I'm aware of the physiology, how my body is feeling, then I can use that awareness in terms of not going into the usual behavior. So that
Right.
behavior change also I can make.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you very much. So you can also change the physiology. So you can change, thank you very much. So you can change the filters or meta programmings. You can change the internal representation also. You can change the state also. You can change the physiology also. And all this, anything that you change at this level can change your behavior and can change your results. So there are a whole lot of things which can be changed. The question is how? How do I change my meta programming? How do I change my internal representation, right? So how do I change my state? Or so there is a technique called anchoring. So participants who are familiar with NLP or who would watch or may watch later on YouTube. So if you've done NLP or heard about NLP anytime, anchoring is something we can do to change the state. And then, of course, our physiology can also be changed to get the entire result. Now these filters, how they are going to receive the information and delete the information. If we understand that, it becomes easy for us to influence the other person. So as a trainer, as a coach, as a counselor, right? When we talk about mental health practitioners, when we talk about working in those areas, right? We can always look at changing those meta programming. To change the meta programming, we have to understand what is the meta programming that is working at the subconscious level, which is working as a filter. So how do we understand what is the meta programming behind the entire process? So that is what we are going to further explore in the program. The other important aspect is the language part. So here the language means what kind of communication I have with myself. So what kind of communication when I see a situation I have with myself. A person who fears public speaking. So what will happen with him? As soon as the thought itself of speaking, of talking in front of a crowd will kind of set up a fear. Now, what is he telling himself? When he's thinking about going out and speaking in the public or giving a presentation in front of people, what is that going in his mind? And this language which he is talking to himself, that is so the language which he is talking to himself is going to play a huge role in kind of concluding what the person is going to do in that situation. So he thinks about going and speaking in front of public. Fear sets in. The fear could be, I may make a mistake, I will go wrong, I will forget, I will fumble. People will start laughing at me. Many of them secretly believe that audience would be carrying rotten tomatoes and eggs, and they would be ready to throw at them as soon as they make some mistakes. So the kind of language which I am using to communicate with myself plays a huge role. And what I am going to, the way I'm going to talk to myself about certain things and issues is kind of a programming which I have been doing since kind of I have become conscious about myself. So just to give you an example, if you look at this picture, you can see that there is a huge amount of information coming from this picture. Now, if I ask you what was that one thing that caught your attention in this picture, what will you say? So you can use the chat box and tell me what is that one thing that caught your attention. Lake, thank you very much. Only question for that. What else?
Reflection in the mirror is different if it is mirror.
No, I'm just asking you, after seeing that picture, what was one unique thing that you noticed? What you remember, basically? Unique Eastern says he remembers lake. Happiness, okay, thank you very much. What else? Dear couple, thank you very much.
It's training. It's self-training.
Self-training, a scenery, thank you. What else? What was so significant about dear couple? Paresh, if you could tell me, what do you think was so significant about that dear couple? Or what was how was happiness associated with that image? There was nowhere happiness written. So how does it represent happiness?
Well, the picture itself embodies happiness, I feel, because I could clearly catch up with that.
I'm sorry, I was not able to hear you clearly. If you could
The
please
picture
repeat.
itself embodies happiness. I could clearly catch up with so many animals being very happy with wherever they are, with their siblings and the greenery and the surroundings, the environment.
Right.
So happiness or any other emotional emotional state can be communicated with non-verbal communication also, need not be written. By looking at their face, yeah, happiness could be seen.
I agree. What else? So what did dear couple represent to you?
Well, I saw them more into each other, not concerned about the outside world.
So how does that how does it become significant to you? I'm just asking, right? So
it's not significant as such, but I saw the entire scene. There was a dragonfly, there was a frog jumping, and there was something. I saw the entire thing, but just I mentioned the deer.
I agree. So there is nothing right and wrong. So don't worry about that. So I'm just asking you how does you understood that the couple, the dear couple, is kind of sitting close to each other, kind of detached or disconnected with the entire world. How does that resonate with you? Means how does it connect with you?
So it was like there was some kind of communication going between them, and they were not at all concerned about what is going outside. So that's the thing.
How does it relate to your personal life? Is there any way it relates to your personal life? Or
nothing as such.
Right.
Usually I work as an individual performer, so I have to work within myself, like whatever reports or anything is given to me, so I just have to work on it. Probably might be
right. So great, thank you very much for Parish for sharing and the wonderful discussion. So the idea is that we will see a lot of things, but we will pick that up which will some way connect with us or may be relevant with us, right? So I'm not saying that happiness should be written somewhere in the picture. I asked because how does it connect with happiness? So it could also connect with sadness also. Why happiness? It could also connect with sadness. It's a jungle, so there is a possibility. That a living being could die, could get hunted. So one way is that a living being could be hunted. The other side is that a living being could eat and survive for the other day. So thank you very much. So just a small thing to show that the amount of information that we receive is very huge every time, and most of the time we are not aware about the kind of information we are receiving, because we tend to focus on what is important or what is relevant or what is necessary or what is connecting to us. Rest we are going to delete it as rest of the information we are going to delete it most of the time. So when we were talking about how do you communicate with yourself plays a very important role. How do I communicate with self? How do I communicate with others? And how do I connect with the environment or the nature, or the kind of communication I have with the environment or the nature or the power that moves the world, right, can make a huge difference. Okay, so because all these topics can itself go on for an hour at least. So when we talk about communication, so there are a lot of there is lot can be said about at 3 levels also communication. Let's move to the next one. So our values, our beliefs, and our thoughts. Based on our values, beliefs, and thoughts, we are going to communicate and we are going to act. And based on the way we are going to act, we are going to get results. And based on our values, beliefs, thoughts, we communicate, act, and we get results. We start connecting those results with those basic values and beliefs. So, in other words, we start connecting those results with the values or beliefs we thought are working in that direction. And then those values and beliefs become stronger. So the funny side of this is, if you read about the cricketers or any sports person, so because most of us watch cricket more than any other sports. So when we talk about cricket, so you would see that Azharuddin will come out and bat with his collars up all the time. So they all have that some belief that, okay, if I keep my collar up, I'm going to more likely go and score runs. So you can say that it also represents his internal state of mind, because when his collars are up, he feels more confident. So I think some cricketer was sharing that whenever he went to the ground to bat, right, so he will step in the ground with his right foot first. So he considered that if he went in the ground with his right foot first, he was more likely to succeed. So we will have some values and beliefs. So this is the funny side. There are, of course, we all carry some strong values and beliefs, which leads to certain kind of thoughts, communication, action, and results. The way the person communicates, when we listen to the communication of the person carefully, we will understand the basic beliefs, the basic values which the person is carrying, or the meta programs which he is carrying in his mind. Okay. Now, every time there is a communication, how do we know that what is the values or what are the beliefs are going in the communication? Now, very interesting part is most of the time when people communicate, right? They don't know what they are communicating. So the way they communicate can actually tell you a lot about the person who is communicating. And the best part is most of the time, most of the people believe that they can hide their values or their beliefs. But if you practice, if you start listening to people carefully, so if you start listening to what people are saying carefully, very carefully, looking at their facial expression, body language, words, tone, and put everything together, it becomes very easy for us to understand where the person is coming from. Now, when I talk about assumptions, right? So her dog is lazy. So what are the assumptions in this sentence? So her dog is lazy. So what can be the assumptions in this statement?
The dog doesn't move, or the dog is not active.
So dog is not active. Okay.
It always sleeps.
It always sleeps. Okay. So here your assumption is being lazy is always sleeping, is it? So also that can be one of the assumptions. So thank you very much. What else?
Dog may be sick. That is why he is lazy.
So dog can be sick. What else? So so if you look at this, the dog is lazy and the dog is sick. Now this is the interpretation. So you are taking you're finding an interpretation from this. I'm saying, what are the assumptions?
The dog doesn't bark.
Dog, okay, the dog doesn't bark. What else?
The dog is obese.
Sorry? Obese.
The dog is obese.
Okay,
Yeah.
so okay, it's a fat dog. What else? Okay.
Barking.
Okay.
More than barking dog, the silent dog is more dangerous.
More dangerous, yeah. Okay.
Hi,
So,
Sanjay.
hi.
Yeah, my question is, her dog is lazy. Okay, it's a statement, right? Assumptions, when we speak about assumptions, is this is a dog, or it is an assumption that we are doing it from cross?
So, so I'm going to unfold that. So, I'm going to unfold that within few seconds. So this is wonderful. So the lady is also lazy. So the lady is lazy. So her dog is lazy. So that's a good one. Okay.
So since the dog is not active, it is assumed that it is a lazy dog.
Right.
Or it
So
is
now,
not doing what a dog
Right.
usually does.
Right.
Then it is considered, it is assumed that it might be a lazy dog.
Right. Right. So thank you very much. So you all are right.
It is a general perception. Seeing a dog is that he is a one which is bumpy, which is running around, making noise and all sort of things. So
Right.
it's a preconceived notion on a dog.
Right. So thank you very much. You all are right. So let's see from my perspective, when I talk about assumptions, what the sentence means. So her dog is lazy. So one assumption is the dogs can be lazy. Okay. So that's an assumption that the dogs can be lazy. The second assumption is her dog. So she has a dog. So that's the assumption in these sentences, which we took it as it is. So we assume that, okay, she has a dog. Now, if I go further, so you must have more or less assumed that the dog would look like this. Okay. So you had a picture of a dog in your mind. So you already assumed that dog means this. She has a dog means she must be having a dog, which is a pet, and lazy. So dogs can be lazy. So these are all the assumptions in the sentence, which we take the meaning of the sentences as granted. Okay. Okay. Now, we'll look at a slightly more complicated sentence. If my husband knew how much I suffered, he wouldn't do that. Now, what are the assumptions in this? From the perspective of the lady, right? So now we will move the perspective. Now, from the perspective of the lady. So put yourself, if possible, in the shoes of that lady, and she is saying, if my husband knew how much I suffered, he wouldn't do that.
First assumption is she feels that her husband understands her. Second thing is, she sort of says that her husband won't have done it in case he was in her place.
So what was the assumption?
We can assume that he is a caring husband.
Okay.
Without his knowledge, he has hurt her. So if
Right.
he knew,
Right.
he would have
Right.
not done that.
So the probable conclusion we can see. So the what are the assumptions here? Okay. First thing is, if my husband knew how much I suffered, he wouldn't do that. So husband is unaware about her
Suffering.
So that is the assumption from the lady's perspective. The second is, I suffer. I am suffering. Right. So what she is undergoing is a suffering, is her assumption. Am I right?
No, how can you say it is assumption when she says I am suffering? It is not an assumption, no.
Okay. So what is suffering for you?
Either physically or mentally, whatever is the physically, it is the pain, it is a suffering.
So but
Mentally, if it is agitating, it is suffering.
So probably she is asking for a Mercedes, and her husband is not able to give her. That is why she feels she is suffering.
So clear-cut lack of.
If, for example, she is living in a 2 BHK, she wants to live in a 4 BHK. Probably her father had a huge flat, maybe 5-6 BHK. That is why she feels she is cramped in a small 2 BHK. So that is a suffering for her. So I am suffering is an assumption. A person can probably remain happy in probably maybe.
So it shows the clear-cut, there is a gap in their communication, both understanding.
So that goes beyond. So we are not talking about communication gap. Before the communication gap comes certain assumptions, right? So every time we listen to something, now this was very good one, that Shiva Guru immediately thought that, okay, husband must be physically or mentally abusive. That is why the woman is suffering, right? So that's the basic assumption we made from the statement, without understanding what the suffering could mean to her. Am I right? Or you need some correction, or I need to correct myself?
No, as you said, if it is the thinking that 2 BHK and 4 BHK difference is the suffering that we cannot help.
So in this world, everybody is suffering, right?
Yeah.
Right. So somebody who is living in a 4 BHK is also suffering. Somebody who is traveling in Mercedes is also suffering.
Makes sense, sir, what you're saying makes sense.
Right. So this suffering is a relative term, but we assumed immediately that, okay, suffering means this. So there are certain assumptions in every sentence. Right. Now, if I am talking to this lady and I have to change her perception, then I have to understand all these things. What is suffering for her? So I have to listen to her intently. Try to understand what are the meta programmings that are working. So we will come to that. So what are those questioning techniques? We will come to that. So meta programming, basically, we already spoke about. We will not go into detail. We will look at the meta programmings, right? So in NLP, we have something which we call it as meta model. Right. So we already understood what is meta programming. So I will not go into detail. We have to. It is very in simple words, right? These simple words are the small programmings which are there in our mind, which helps us to decide what to filter and what to accept. And out of that, what is accepted, how to generalize it, delete it, generalize it and distort it based on my assumption. Right. For example, I'm just giving you an example, right? For example, if you believe that our Prime Minister Narendra Modi is doing a great job, so we're not going to politics, I'm just giving you an example. If you believe that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is doing a great job, anything that comes against anything, any questions, any videos, anything that comes against Modi, what will you do? What will that person do who believes that he is doing a great job?
Ignore it.
Okay. But he has read it. So now ignoring doesn't arise. So what will
even after reading, also he may
but
feel that
he has
these
read,
people
he has
are
read
writing.
it now, so he will make some conclusion with it.
Yeah, what he may feel that what these people are writing is all nonsense.
So he will say, yeah. So Ravish Kumar is speaking nonsense. Probably he is paid by Congress. Right?
Okay.
So now what I am doing is I am generalizing. I am distorting that information to fit in my already existing belief system.
We will not give importance to it.
Right. And if it is vice versa, if I believe, see, if I am a Hindu, right? So I am a Hindu. Right. So I believe that I am a Hindu, and as most of us, for most of the human beings, it is like my religion is great. However, in this world, nobody has seen the God or experienced the God in what we call in a logical way, right? In a rational way. But we all believe that, okay, our religion is great. Now, what is the basis for that?
It's a belief only.
It is a belief, and where that belief came from. If I am
from our ancestors.
Yeah, so because from our parents, we were built in that way, right? So my parents, I grew in a certain way, because of which I believe in certain things, right? If I had gone in some, so instead of Hindu, if I had born Christian, then I would have said Christianity is great. If I had been a Muslim, then I would have said Islam is great. So my belief system, if it doesn't match to my belief system, I'm going to distort it and match it to my belief system. And I'm going to accept what is matching to my belief system easily. So if I believe I'm a great trainer, I'm an excellent trainer, and somebody appreciates me in the classroom, I will take it and I will say, thank you very much. I will be happy about it. And if somebody criticizes me or says, yeah, you are wrong here, then I will feel offended. So I will not try to, I may say that, okay, this guy is acting too smart, or there is something wrong with him. So I will try to change that information to validate my belief system. So those are the meta programming, right? So if you understand the meta programming, meta model, how the mind of the other person is operating, based on that you can use the kind of communication to kind of influence it and even change it, right? For example, there are many such. I will give you some few examples. So moving towards and moving away. Now, what does it mean? People do things for two reasons. Either is to move towards happiness or move away from pain. So for a sales guy, there is a possibility he is trying to achieve his target to get bonus. So earn incentives and revenue, earn rewards. The other is trying to achieve his target so that he doesn't have to experience the pain, because if he is not able to achieve his target, then there is a possibility that management may call him in, they may reprimand him, they may reprimand him, may not give him, he may end up even losing his job. So there is a person who is working only to save his job. The other person is working to achieve something beyond the job. People can work out of necessity and possibility. So I am doing things because I have to do it. I am a trainer and I am training because that is necessary for my survival. I am doing training because I see a huge possibility there. I can influence people. I can bring about the changes in their lives. I can add value to them. So one person is working towards necessity. The other person is working towards possibility. The other, there is somebody who forms relations because he is same. He is similar to him or her. Somebody is building those relationships because they are different. Because you think differently from me, you think differently than me. I see there is some value when we work together. and somebody is into kind of a relationship, friendship, whatever you call, it is because of the similarity. They are together. People may work for global or the larger picture, or people may work to fulfill specific tasks. So if you watch my recordings on personality types, communication and leadership, I speak about 4 personalities. So one is expressor. So that is the who has a larger picture. And thinker has a specific channel of thinking. So he's moving towards the dot. And the expressor is moving away from the dot towards the larger picture. Some may be external driven, some may be internal driven. The external driven is so external motivation. They may be working for money, for reward, for recognition, for promotion, for incentives. Somebody may be working for internal satisfaction. They feel happy. They feel good about it. They have done something. They have done something for somebody. Some may work for self and some may work for others. So there can be more possibilities when we talk about metaprogramming. So we can understand now. We know I am the manager, sales, and I have many colleagues. Right? So there are many reporting to me. If I see somebody, and from his communication, I will come to know how he is, on what basis he is doing it. So somebody, it's raining heavily, right? It's raining heavily, and one of the colleagues says, "Yaar, aaj jaane ka man nahi kar raha. I'm not feeling like going to the office, but I have to. Why? If I don't go today, I don't go today. I have already taken 2 days off. This third day will be a problem for me to explain. So I'm going because there is a necessity. I'm going because I have a meeting today with a client, and there is a whole lot of possibilities that can be worked with him. So I would communicate, नहीं यार वो एक meeting है यार, बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं. There are a lot of possibilities. I should go there. Now, if somebody is communicating, he will not know how he is communicating his belief system when he is saying things. So what do you need to do? You have to start listening. And when you start listening, you will understand what are the basic meta programmings which are going at the back of the mind. So we look at questioning techniques. So there are techniques when people communicate. We will know whether the person is calling from the meta programming of filter. Which filter is working? Is it distortion, generalization, or deletion? So far, so good. Are we on the same page? If we are on the same page, you can write Y or yes on the chat box, and I will know. You can unmute and tell me as well.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Shivaguru. So I would appreciate if I get some responses. Very nice explanation of metaprogramming. Thank you very much, Dr. Kalpana. So Pinky also saying yes, thank you. Vaibhavi says yes, thank you very much. So Rupali, yes, thank you very much for those responses.
It is not Rupali, it is Rupak.
I'm so sorry. Thanks for correcting. Thanks. Thank you very much for correcting. Yeah. Okay. So moving ahead. So when we talk about distortion, so there are many questioning techniques, but we will only cover some 3-4 right now. There is a range when we do the complete NLP course. That's where we talk about everything. So thank you very much. So mind reading, right? So what is mind reading? Claiming to know someone's internal state, right? So you believe that you know something about me, for example. You don't like me. Now, what is mind reading? What is the assumption here?
We know that what the other person is thinking.
Right. So we have assumed that we know what the other person is thinking. So you don't like me. So how do you break that? So how do you change that distortion? So if somebody says you don't like me. Now, if
How do you know?
yeah, so thank you very much. So how do you know that you don't like me? So most of the time when husband or and wife communicate, so wife will say you don't like me. So what will be the general response of the husband?
What makes you feel that
So nicely.
I don't like me?
So nicely. Yeah, okay. But
The answer would be, of course, I love you.
so answer what there is other possible responses. I'm doing so much for you, yeah. See you
see, I have one different opinion. I do not know who said I love you. Of course, I will love you. It can be I don't love, but I respect you. There is another.
It does. So if you say you respect, and if somebody says you love, so it doesn't. They all are right. So it doesn't make a difference. What I am asking is how
many times it may happen that if somebody, if I tell somebody I love you, that person may say that yes, but I don't love, but I respect you.
So how do you know that? So that is again your assumption.
Sanjay, I have a question here.
Yeah.
Question is, when we speak about mind reading, right? Claiming to know someone's internal state, are we talking about mind reading which is verbal?
So I am not talking about mind reading. What I'm talking about is somebody is communicating from an assumption that he already knows what is going in your mind.
And the communication is verbal?
Yeah, of course it is verbal. So the lady, for example, wife is telling her husband, you don't like me. So what would most of the time the husband would respond is, I'm doing so much for you. See, I have bought a house for you. I have a AC, I have everything, I have a car, I have made for you. If I didn't like you, why will I do all these things for you? But that doesn't change the mind reading. That doesn't change the distortion. Mind reading is a distortion because I cannot know what is going in your mind. So now, how do I change that? So I asked. So that was beautifully said. How do you know that I don't like you? It's very simple. And then the lady will say, okay, you don't like me because, wait.
What makes you think that I don't like you?
So that's one and the same. So what is the likely response when you ask someone, how do you know I don't like you? So Shiva Guru says, you don't like me. I can ask Shiva Guru, what makes you think that I don't like you? Now, what will be the Shiva Guru's response?
So, because you do these things which I don't like.
So now you got the point. What is making the other person believe that you don't like me? You got my point. So the wife may say, I call you up in the afternoon to talk to you because I'm missing you and you don't pick my call. That's the reason I believe you don't like me. Now you know where the problem is and how to resolve. Otherwise, if somebody says my wife says you don't like me, I like you, I love you. So that doesn't resolve the problem because that distortion doesn't change. The distortion will change when you know why the other person has assumed that you don't like her. Does that make sense?
Yeah, provided the other person has to tell why that feeling was there.
If I tell you, Shiva Guru, you tell me you don't like me, I will say, how do you know that? So what is so difficult for you to tell me? You may be angry now, so you may not respond now, but after 1 hour when you're, so of course we have to be at that level of friendship, right? So We have to have that kind of relationship. And then after half an hour, you will definitely say, Sanjay, you did this. You told this about me in the training, which I didn't like, or you said something which was not good. So I would know, and I would say, yeah, I think that was my mistake. So I'm sorry. Or probably I didn't mean this. I was saying this. Okay. So I can give an explanation, and then that distortion will go away.
So this reminds me about one Tamil song, Kannum Kannum Nokia. Shivaguru will translate it if required.
So, Tubu had recovered source of information. So, where this information has come, why this information has come. See, if you, when you talk about relationships, so when you have to do counseling, especially with partners, okay, so wife will complain. So her complaint will be, I have, for example, I have done so much for you, but at any point of time, did you say thank you to me? What does it mean? I've done so much for you in last 10 years, but you have never come back and said thank you. So what does that mean?
You did not acknowledge whatever I did, and you
she will
appreciate what I did.
So she needs appreciation and acknowledgement. That's all.
Yeah.
If you start appreciating and acknowledging, thank you very much for what you did, that solves the problem. Have you, in last 10 years, have you bought a single thing for me on your own? So most of the time it is like, in last 10 years, have you bought even a single thing for me? So what does lady is looking for?
Expect some surprise gifts.
Surprise gifts, right? So you may say that I am giving you 15,000 rupees every month to buy whatever you want. So that is not important. What is important is surprise gifts. So she is looking for surprise gifts. So when somebody is communicating with you, we can listen to those words carefully, go back and find out where this is coming from. Yeah. Okay. So this can go on and on. So let's move to the next. So another example for there are many such. I'm just going to take you through few, right? Because we have limited time. Actually, I did this session in 90 minutes. It doesn't happen. So I have extended it to 2 hours, but I don't think 2 hours are going to be enough. So for complex equivalence, so there is another type of distortion. When two different experiences are interpreted as synonymous or connected to each other. For example, she is always shouting at me. She doesn't like me. She is always shouting at me. She doesn't like me.
Is she shouting at you always, or is there any instances?
Okay, so that is one way of doing it. Thank you very much. What is the other possibility?
Sanjay, what I could interpret is shouting and does not like are synonymous here.
Yeah, absolutely. So so absolutely. So we can ask her. We can ask her that or him that, have you ever shouted on someone you liked? Have you ever shouted on someone you like? So that's a complex equivalence. Shouting and liking are not necessarily connected with each other. Yeah, you should watch Darlings, right? Darlings. So that's the way the man expresses his love. Yeah, so expression of love. Okay. So shouting at shouting. So have you ever shouted at someone you like? What can be the answer? The answer will obviously be yes, I have. So shouting and liking are not connected with each other. Shouting and disliking are not connected with each other. So recover complex equivalence and give counter example. Distortion presupposition. Conditions and elements in the statement, right? For example, so we will do this quickly. He is a God-fearing man. So what is the presupposition in this? He is a God-fearing man means what?
The person would not do anything wrong.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. So the person will not do anything wrong. He is an honest man. He is a trainer. Means what? So the general assumption is
he knows the subject well, or
so
He is a subject matter expert.
So he is a subject matter expert. He is a Gujarati. Means what?
businessman.
Businessman. Right. So he will always have good business ideas. Papada jalebi, right? So he's a Gujarati means he will have a great. Now see, the meta programming is that Gujarati means a good businessman, right? He will have good business ideas. He can give you good share market tips, right? And there is a guy who is not a Gujarati, right? And he can have better ideas, but they may not be accepted by the other person, right? Because he has already a meta. So there will be some small programmings which are going in which are used, and these programmings are necessary, right? Because that helps us process the information faster. Right? However, they can also become a limiting belief for us, right? So because I was not able to do the first time, I will not be able to do it second time, third time, and then ultimately I start believing that this is impossible for me. Right? So I will skip this. There are many such, right? So okay, so I have one more, so we'll take this for deletion. The one is nominalization. There are many such, so we will take one example. My life is miserable. So what is the assumption here? Now the assumption, what is life? So is it a verb or is it a noun?
Noun.
Is it a noun or a verb?
Sorry, sir. Our English is engineering English, so it is not verb and noun. It makes no difference for us.
So noun means something static. So name of a person, Sanjay, is a noun. Verb is an action.
So this thing is
life
noun.
Sorry.
It has to be action only.
It has to be action only. Life is a verb. Yeah. Life is ever changing. It is not static. It is not static. Life. So it cannot be noun. It has to be a verb. It is ever changing. It is never static. It's an action.
It is adjective. It is not even noun and verb.
It can be adjective also. So anyway, but to be more specific, it is not static. It is something which is moving. My life is miserable means I have made it static. Means miserable. Now it is miserable. No hope for improvement, change, or development. So this is one of the examples where people get into, they turn, for example, life, a noun, a verb into a noun, and that misery will continue. But if you see it as a verb, then it's an action. So today it can be miserable, but tomorrow it can be better. Right?
More miserable.
Yeah. So there are many such. We covered almost 2.5 hours on this in meta model. The idea of this, you can take it as is that one thing is that when people communicate, so their communication has a lot of assumptions. Looking at those assumptions, if you listen to them carefully, you will know where they are coming from. So what is the belief or what is the thought that is running behind that belief system, that communication? Because the way you believe, your beliefs and values are going to get communicated in your communication and action, and that is going to give you results. So however hard you try to hide, your values and beliefs will be exposed, right? if you listen to their communication carefully, where they are coming from. And you can use questioning techniques also to understand what is coming from where. So because I get a lot of coaching and counseling sessions I do. So people come with a lot of assumptions. So when somebody was sharing about that picture, so the assumption was I like to work alone. May not be true. I'm not saying that we can be always wrong. And there is nothing right, nothing about, there is nothing, nothing right and wrong. See, we have to remember that in this world, there is nothing right and wrong. Everything is right from the person's perspective. You change the perspective, things will change. What, based on what he is observing right now, based on what he is filtering and what he is accepting, he is seeing things and he is right. If you change the filters, he will see things differently. That is also right. So there is nothing right and wrong. If you believe this is right and this is wrong, then somewhere your assumption is working on that. Okay.
Opinion and judgment.
Opinion and judgment. So thank you very much. So anchoring, we know there is a technique with the help of which we can change the state of mind. Scientifically, we know Pavlov's theory. So about the dog, classical conditioning theory. So same way, anchoring is also kind of conditioning at the subconscious level to behave in a particular way. Somebody sees a stage and he gets that stage fear of public speaking. He can also see it as an opportunity to develop, grow, and kind of create a name, fame, and money for himself. So that programming, if you change, meta programming, you will change. Instead of fear, he can get into a state of enthusiasm and confidence and energy. So these body syndromes, this is about psychosomatic diseases. So what we assume in NLP is that memory is not just your mind or brain, it is your whole body. So the information is stored in your entire body. So people who have pain in their face or throat area, I'm talking about psychosomatic disease, right? Where you go to the doctor, the person is going to the doctor is saying, I have done X-ray, sonography, everything is fine. But the person still continues to feel the pain. So it could be ability to take decisions because of which he may. So this is a generalization, not necessarily true for everything or everybody. You can take it as a guiding rule, but not a 100%. You can say confirmed rule. If somebody is having pain in shoulders and upper back, it could be feeling of overburden, right? Remember, all these are all relative. Overburden could be for a person carrying 5 kgs can be overburden. For somebody, 20 kgs can be an overburden. So that is all relative. It depends on person to person. For somebody, struggle is earning 2 times meal. For somebody, struggle is probably maintaining the status of being the richest person in Asia or in the world. Around, if the pain is around private parts, it could be because of guilt and sexual frustration. Lower back means financial insecurities. Pain in hands means inability to express, to fight, or is the person has set up unreachable goals for him. Pain in leg area means inability to run away from the situation. So we spoke about communication, verbal, non-verbal, we all know. Unfortunately, we don't have time. We have only 15 minutes. There is a topic which we do it in NLP practically about IQ. So if when I'm talking to a person, asking him questions, if his eyes move on the left up, then he is trying to remember from his memory. If it is right up, then he is trying to construct it. So it is imagining, not from memory. Same thing, auditory, if he is looking on the left, and the guy on the right is constructing, right? And kinesthetic, when the person is thinking from feelings, are taking decisions from feelings, I may move down and on the right. And rational thinking, that is left down. However, my experience says that this is not true for everyone. So what you can do is you can ask questions and see how the person is responding. So some which are facts, so which the person can remember from his memory, some which he has to construct. For example, if I ask you, can you tell me the name of your first girlfriend, right? So you will have to go back in your memory lane and recollect from the memory. So where does your eye move? And if I ask you, imagine a pink elephant flying in the sky. Now you need to imagine it. So see where your eye movement goes. And from that, when you establish a pattern, you can say, okay, for this person, when he is remembering it, eyes move this way. And if he is imagining it, eyes are moving this way. Okay. So I will quickly take another 5 minutes and explain suggestibility. We have 15 minutes, I think. Okay. So there are two ways people receive information. Now listen to me carefully. There are two ways people receive information. Now this is very important because this also helps in when it comes to relationship issues. This works. These concepts, understanding of such concepts work really well. So two ways people receive information. One is literal and the other one is inferential. Literal person will take the information as it is. Inferential will try to find a deeper meaning to what is said. Okay. For example, if I tell you you're looking extremely good today, what are the possible responses?
And I may take literally, as you said, may be beautiful or something. You are trying to get some favor from me, so you are just putting me.
Right. So thank you very much. So it could be that you may say that, okay, yeah, I'm really looking good today. So take it as a compliment and say thank you. The other one could be, possibly Sanjay wants something from me now. That is why he's giving me compliment. So one is literal and the other one is inferential. Literal is taking information as it is. Inferential is finding meaning behind what I am saying. Right. So nobody is 100% literal or inferential. It depends on three things. One is trust. If the trust is high, will the person be more literal or inferential? You can use the chat box, L for literal, I for inferential, or you can unmute and tell me as well. When the trust is high, will you take the information literally or inferentially? You can write L.
Literal only. If it trust is high, literal.
Right. So thanks, Shivaguru. Any more responses? You can use the chat box, L or I. So Pinky says literal. Thank you very much. Both ways, no. If the trust is high, you will be more, you will take information more literally. You will not try to find deeper meaning because I trust you. So whatever you said, when the trust level is high, you are more likely to take the information as it is. So it is L. Okay. Higher
but, yes, sorry. But just for example, in a relation between a husband and a wife, many times it happens that if a husband requires something or a wife requires something, it might be a literal or can be inferential.
Yeah. So if
so that's why I'm saying that it might be both ways, you know.
I will
Trust will
clarify.
always be there on your life partner.
No, I
but
will no, not
yeah.
that way. I will give you one example. So if let's say if my wife and comes and tells me, yeah, you are looking so good today. Right. So there are two possibilities. I can say I can say that, okay, thank you very much. You have it is a compliment which came after a long time. The second possibility is, acha, okay. So tell me, what do you want? Okay. Or probably your son comes and tells you, okay, Dad, you did an excellent. Your training session was excellent. So one way of taking it is you can say that, okay, thank you. The other one is, okay, what do you want? Now, when I'm talking about trust here, so it is not. Don't get confused with the other trust. What I'm saying is how much you trust the person whom you're talking to in the terms of relationship. Whether if your trust level is high, if you trust the other person completely, you will not try to find a deeper meaning कि आपको क्या चाहिए. आप बोलोगे good, thank you very much. Otherwise, you will end up saying that, okay, tell me what do you want. Or forget about wife and husband or something. It's okay. You are in a party, and a stranger comes to you and tells you, yeah, looking smart today. Or probably a person whom you have met only once or twice, had no conversation in the past. So what is more likely, that how much will you trust? Will you take his information as it is? So now here, a stranger whom you know, you don't know at all, you know very little, and there is another one is your wife, whom you know so well. So naturally, because your trust is high, you will trust your wife immediately. But a stranger giving the same compliment, you will not take it as it is. The second one is level of interest. If your level of interest is high, will you be more literal or inferential? So I trust I have been able to clarify the trust part. The more you trust the person, the more likely that you take the information as it is. A compliment coming from a person who is known to you, more likely you will take it as it is. Coming from a stranger, you will look naturally with some question mark. Okay. So I will just give you an example. So nowadays, what happens is, because now people have started knowing me because of my sessions and my post on social media, plus my videos, YouTube, and so on. So people have started. So now what has happened is, now almost every day or every other day for sure, there will be a chat. There will be a message from someone. Hi, how are you? And then you go to their DP and you will see a photo of a beautiful girl, right? And then they will start getting into a indecent conversation, right? So one day I got such a call. I got a video call, so I picked it up. So because it was a WhatsApp call, the video automatically got started, and the person who called had kind of played uh, a porn movie in the background. Right. Now what happened? Now uh, uh, I took time, say maybe 5-10 seconds to disconnect. So by the time I could disconnect, the other guy recorded something. So he said, now I'm going to post it in social media. I said, go ahead and do post. Doesn't matter. And then I disconnected the phone. So they tried calling me from different numbers. So whatever numbers I got, I blocked them automatically. Now, if if a person messages me, calls me, who is not known to me, even if he is my client calling for the first time, I am going to be very careful and look at him with suspicion. However, if somebody known is going to call me, I'm going to receive the call with less or rather no questions on that. So trust high, more literal you will be. Level of interest. If the level of interest is high, will you be more literal or inferential? What do you think? You can use the chat box. So Pinky says inferential, right? Any other thoughts? If your level of interest is high in a subject, what will you do? Will you be more literal or you will be inferential? So is my chat on? Let me check. Yeah. I'm waiting for a couple of responses. The third factor is mental exhaustion. If you are mentally exhausted, will you be more literal or inferential?
If mentally exhausted, it will be literal only.
So mentally exhausted because you don't have energy to process the information anymore. So you will take it literally. So there is suggestibility. Accordingly, there is sexuality also. There are two ways where people give out information. One is physical sexual, where people are more expressive, and emotional sexual, where people are more logical and reasoning. Right. So that in turn gives us 4 possible personalities. And when you understand these 4 personalities better, what happens is, especially when there are conflict in relationship, you can help people resolve those issues easily. Now, when we talk about persuasive communication, or when we talk about the more you are vague, the more you can influence people. Now, for example, when I give you an example of sweets, I told you to think about your favorite sweet, right? So here the communication was vague. If I would have said, think about rasgulla, then probably not everybody would have felt happy with it. But because the communication was vague, instead of being specific, being vague, so sweet, your favorite sweet, then everybody was able to kind of connect. So that is what is the power of vague communication. In nowadays, politicians use it really well. For example, अच्छे दिन आने वाले हैं. So it's a best example of vague communication. Everybody who is listening to this slogan will believe that he will have his good days. And everybody has their own images of good days. So that is how it works. Now we all know that mind affects body and body affects mind. So if you are sad, your posture of sitting and talking and behaving will be different. Your expressions will be different. So if you follow that body posture, it will affect your mind. Right. So it is vice versa. Now leading and pacing, if you look at these two girls, right? If you look at these two girls, do you see any similarity between them? So what do you see? What is the similarity between them?
Look, both are angry actually.
So
Upset or angry.
Yeah, so both, thank you very much. Both are upset or angry. You can see that from their facial expressions and their body language. Because their body language are similar, you can say that both of them are in a same state of mind. So when you are communicating, if you are able to, if you copy the other person's body language in a subtle way, so that he doesn't know.
Curious also, maybe curious also.
Yeah. So whatever, but both of them are in the same state of mind because their body language and facial expressions are more or less the same. So if we copy the other person, so copy means not exactly as it is, in a subtle way, then the other person feels that we are in the same state as he, and he becomes more open to communication. For example, when we are in a meeting and the other person whom you're talking to is keeping his hands on the table, right? You also keep your hands on the table and start talking to him. So now your body language is quite similar. When your body language is quite similar, at subconscious level, our state of mind is quite similar, and the other person is more open or more receptive to your ideas. Now, when we talk about conscious mind, unconscious mind, we understood universal modeling process. Everything happens, whatever we discussed happened at unconscious level. Filter, distortion, deletion is done by conscious mind, but the programmings are all at the unconscious level. So if I have to change that programming, meta programming, I have to bypass the conscious mind, connect with the unconscious, and at the unconscious level, make changes at that in the programming. So NLP and hypnosis are the process by means of which you can bypass the conscious mind and connect with the unconscious. The success which we get in our life, it is a combination of unconscious mind and conscious mind. So only conscious mind, only logical thinking cannot give us success, nor only the imagination or creative part. It's a combination of both. So what we can do with NLP, improve people's self-awareness, help them change the belief system, change their perceptions, make their attitude more positive, help them deal with stress, improve their health, remove past painful memories, then psychosomatic diseases, sleep disorders, very common in modern world. I get many cases where people find difficulty to sleep. Some of them were not able to sleep even 3 days, 4 days, kind of a thing. And it's a really bad situation. It's really a pathetic situation for the person who is unable to sleep. Then deal with their internal fears, help them find solutions to the problems, find opportunities. So even today, right now, there are n number of opportunities we are not able to see. Improve communication with self, others, and nature. Achieve success, health, wealth, money, happiness, and so on. So if people want to exercise every day, they are unable to do so. Overcome public speaking fear, help people lead, improve relationship, achieve success, deal with anxiety. We can help them do it with NLP and hypnosis. Today's modern world, the stress level is the highest. The anxiety and depression cases are the highest. In India, it is considered that 1 out of every 7 is somehow dealing with anxiety and depression, severe anxiety and depression, because value systems have gone down, relationships have broken down, lot of negativity from news media and other channels, social media as well. And because of COVID, the uncertainty in the world has increased. So it helps us to transformation. The NLP and hypnosis combined with coaching and counseling can help us transform our lives. So we can understand what you want to achieve, your goals, the challenges you are facing, help you remove negativity, increase positivity, and motivate you so that you can achieve whatever you want in your life. And we have NLP certification course from starting from 18th September, 4 days, 10 to 5, 4 Sundays, where you can learn 25 NLP techniques and 20 topics. You can work using these NLP techniques on self, and you can also help others. So communication model we covered more in detail. We will learn wider and deeper applications of NLP. I have come across many NLP practitioners. When I talk to them, they say, okay, we are NLP certified. But when I ask them, when did you use the NLP techniques last? So most of them have not used it because they have not understood how to apply those techniques. So they have learned the techniques, but they don't know where to apply and how to use it. So we can help them. We not only help them learn techniques, but also use them. So as a trainer, facilitator, or coaches, where you can use techniques, which technique and how you can customize it based on the person's need or based on the program you're doing. You're doing a time management program. How should you, what kind of technique you should do? Leaders, managers, trainers, corporate employees, motivational speakers, sports person, sales and marketing guys. You understood what is communication so deeply, questioning techniques. So people who are into influencing, counseling, therapy, relationship counseling, entrepreneurs, yoga practitioners, and then stress and dietitian practitioners can attend this program along with mental health practitioners. We also learn hypnosis in this program. So it helps us to take a person into deeper state of relaxation and then apply NLP technique, that the impact is very high. So you can see the topics which we are going to cover, the model which we are going to cover. So meta model, we will practice leading and pacing, more in literal and inferential communication, physical, sexual, emotional, sexual, and then 25 NLP techniques. So you get handouts, recordings of all the demo. Many demonstrations are on my YouTube channel. You can watch them. 50% discount is there till 31st August. And if you enroll till tomorrow, by tomorrow, then you get additional 15%. So you end up paying only 9975. That too, you can pay it in 3 parts. Right. So the highlights of this program is that you learn hypnosis, you learn NLP. Success rate is 100%. So you will be able to take a person in the deeper state of relaxation. 100%. The success rate is 100%. You can do it with everyone, online and offline, both. And then you also learn applications of NLP, conversational hypnosis. If the technique you have learned, you are not able to use it, the person is not, the effect is not happening, then you get into conversational hypnosis. So that also we will learn, regular practice and support, recordings and handouts. For self-development, you can use it, and you can use it as a group technique. After the program, you can use it in counseling, coaching, training, and you can start your own course. So you can learn this NLP life coach model on 7th Wednesday. So if you are not enrolled, you should enroll. Also share it with your friends and colleagues. If you enroll for the NLP practitioners course, then for NLP life coach, you will get this certificate also. So you will get 2 certificates, NLP life coach and NLP practitioners course. Then on 8th, we have a program on subconscious mind in the evening. And then what stands between you and success. This is based on my book, which was available on Amazon. Now I am editing and uploading the new version. So that will be coming next month. And then if you have any requirement of leadership programs, you can let me know. So this is about the communication, impactful communication. If you have any questions, you are free to ask. If you have liked our program, you can write a recommendation on LinkedIn, stay connected with us on our groups so that you get regular updates about the upcoming program. So I will wait for 30 seconds. If you have any questions, you are free to ask. So how was the session? You can give the feedback. You can write on the chat box, or you can even unmute and tell me. So how was the session, Shiva Guru?
Good, sir. And this is not first time. Previously also I attended, and this is of course something new with meta models and other things. I think I'll go through once again in YouTube, and then I think I'll.
So you can subscribe our channel. You can also share it with your friends and colleagues. The entire program is there. What we covered right now is there on YouTube, and you can go through it.
Yeah. Not only this one, other programs
Yeah,
also.
sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pinky, Manoj, Dr. Kalpana, Paresh, and Kutubuddin. If you have any questions, you are free to ask. If you have any feedback, you can give me on chat box. It's a lengthy topic, 2 hours, not good enough. I did it in 90 minutes before, but yeah, some of the topics I included. Thank you, Paresh, for your valuable feedback. He says the session was very informative and a lot of learning. You have any questions, anything to share? You're free to connect with me. If when you feel like joining the NLP course and you want to know some details, you're free to call me. Till tomorrow, we have a early bird pricing as well. So less than 10,975, you can get NLP certified. Plus, you can use these techniques in your training, counseling, coaching, and improve the impact of these sessions which you conduct with your participants. Thank you, Pinky. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful life ahead. This is Sanjay Goel signing off. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your participation in upcoming sessions. Please share it with your friends and colleagues also so that they can also